This is the Barbecue Central Radio Show, recorded November 22nd, 2011. Meathead Talks Turkey. The Barbecue Central Radio Show is being brought to you by the Barbecue Guru, the original creators of automatic temperature control devices, now offering 4 different models for you to choose from. Rest easy knowing that the Barbecue Guru is controlling your temperature so you can get on with your life. Visit bbqguru.com or call 800-288-GURU for more information. And by Fred's Music and Tasty Licks BBQ Supply, your online barbecue and grilling superstore. From cookers to grills, wood chips and chunks, and everything in between. Also be sure to try the Tasty Licks barbecue brand of rubs and sauces. Check Fred out online at tastylicksbbq.com. And by Stephen DeFranco Jewelers. Located in beautiful Willoughby, Ohio, Stephen DeFranco Jewelers is a family-owned and operated business looking to service the great folks of the barbecue and grilling world. Get free shipping and big discounts by mentioning my name and the term Barbecue Brother. Check out their inventory by visiting StephenDeFranco.com. And by Butcher Barbecue, with 30 years of experience in retail, wholesale, meat markets, food service, and customer service. Using that experience, everything they do and sell at Butcher's Barbecue comes from real-world knowledge. Check out their award-winning spices, sauces, marinades, and injections by visiting ButcherBBQ.com. Always trust your butcher. And by Draper's Barbecue, a third-generation barbecue company located in western Kentucky between Memphis and Kansas City. Their line of products represents both cities as well as the flavor profiles of Shane's home. Pick up their smokin' sauce and AP rub today by visiting DrapersBBQ.com.
Hi, this is Bobby Limpy from Cleveland, Ohio, and you're listening to Barbecue Central.
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Welcome to the Barbecue Central Show, the show where we talk about all things that are important in the world of barbecue. From big-name interviews with competitors on the barbecue circuit, grill manufacturers and pit makers, to advice on cooking brisket and ribs. You'll find it all right here on the Barbecue Central Show. Your host, Greg Rempe, is a backyard barbecue and grilling fanatic and loves to talk about his passion, which many of us share together. You can learn more about barbecue and grilling by visiting the website, thebbqcentral.com. Now, let's get in the smoke. Here's your program host, Greg Rempe.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the really big Barbecue Central Show. Yes, the show that talks about all things important to the world of barbecue and grilling. Welcome to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio. It's rapidly becoming known as the barbecue capital of the North Coast. And it's great to be here on your Tuesday, a couple days away from Thanksgiving. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Let me give you some contact information in case you want to jump in on the show tonight. If you want to call in, 877-448-0433. If you want to email the show, you can do that as well. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. Those are the two ways to get in touch with the show. Jam-packed show, as always. Going to get to the Butcher Barbecue sauce review here in just 1 second. But got a special guest making her first appearance on the show. Youngest daughter, Marley Rempe, joining me. Hello.
Good.
Tell everybody your name.
Marley.
And what do you do, Marley?
Watch TV.
You watch TV?
Yes.
Do you do anything else?
Play on the computer.
And what do you like? What are some of your favorite things to eat?
Apples, grapes, and barbecue.
Yeah! Who cares about apples and grapes? Forget about that. That's healthy stuff, and we're not interested here in the show. What do you like barbecue-wise? What are some of your favorite barbecue stuff?
It's like hot.
What food do you like?
Pulled pork.
Pulled pork?
Yes.
What else?
Pork butt chicken.
That's the same thing as pork butt. What else?
Steak.
Steak. Okay, that's not barbecue. That's grilling, but go ahead.
Even ribs.
Yeah, we love ribs. Yeah. All right, so Thanksgiving's coming up, and what are you looking forward to eating for Thanksgiving this year? Tell me what your favorite things to eat, and where are we going to be eating?
My favorite food would be turkey.
Yeah, whose is it? Where are we going to eat it at?
At Nana's.
That's right, we're going to eat it at Nana's. All right, well, I have to get into reviewing some sauce, but I appreciate you coming on tonight. Just a few short days away from Thanksgiving. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tell the Centralites goodbye.
Goodbye.
All right, there she is. Oh, wait a second. There she is. Marley! Future show host in training, I would imagine. Outstanding job by my youngest. Obviously inheriting her dad's skill for wit, wisdom, and as we call it, a rapist's wit on the microphone. Okay, happy to have you aboard here, folks, for another edition of the Barbecue Central Radio Show. Jam-packed show for you, as always, coming up here in about 11 minutes. We do have Toby Shea from the British Barbecue Society and the International Barbecue Network. We touched on it briefly with Ray Lampe last week, which really spawned a much broader scope conversation that we're going to actually discuss with Toby tonight. If you want to check out his organizations, it's BBBQS.com for British Barbecue Society. Read up on it a little bit before we go to break, and then you can be up on what he's doing over there in England, and then we'll discuss further in depth on what is happening over there, how it relates to that KCBS International Barbecue Initiative Reach Out program for the poor and willing. That might stretch into the second or the third segment of this evening during the first hour, so it could be all Toby Shea all the time, depending on how things go. Second hour, we do have monthly guest and regular contributor to the show. He is the founder and proprietor of the most heavily trafficked barbecue and grilling website out there on the internet, Meathead Goldwyn from AmazingRibs.com, and we're going to be talking about him. More importantly, not just about him, of course, he is very important. We're talking all things that have to do with turkey, just a few short days away from what is one of the biggest days of continuous eating and grazing and whatever else you want to call it. I mean, it gets no better than that, and we'll talk about it ad nauseum during the second hour. Plus, we have the Luftleiter giveaway, which will take place at some point. It's got to be live. You got to be listening live in order to win that Luftleiter, so pay attention for that. All right. Let me turn up my gain here a little bit so I can get away from the microphone. Tonight, for the sauce and rub review, for yours and mine pleasure, I don't even see him in the show tonight, but it's the Butcher Barbecue Sweet Barbecue. Whoa, Sweet Barbecue sauce. Everybody see that? It's Dave Bosca's effort here into the sauce portion of the deal. This is an award-winning sauce. It has the perfect blend of sweetness and spices, either on the grill or in the kitchen. It will complement beef, pork, chicken, and burgers made by Dave's Processing. And I was perusing the ingredients list, and I didn't see anything that really scared me. You know what I mean by scared? Things like natural flavoring or liquid smoke. I don't see that. So that's good right off the bat. So I just started the tape undoing this here. And a nice, it's plastic bottle, so that's nice. Give it a little shake. It's got some good viscosity on it. Dark in flavor, at least in the bottle. Now we'll give the bottle a sniff, make sure there's no questionable smells coming up. No, bottle smells like a bottle, which is always favorable. Let's see here. Now we'll undo the cap, see what's doing underneath. Very nice. We do have the safety seal, which we always appreciate, and a door from our vending friends that are in the commercial barbecue sauce and rub business. Go ahead and take that off. Very nice. And here we go. All right, let me see if I can move this off to the side. Now, for those that are not able to see this on the video, you're going to miss the color check and the viscosity check. But first, as the great Gary Vaynerchuk would say, let's give it a sniffy sniff and see how it smells on the nose. Very pleasant. I'm excited to try the sauce. No overpowering liquid smoke whatsoever. So that makes me very excited right off the bat. Oh, it smells just delicious, so I'm very excited to try this out. Let me move this over here and make sure. Okay, so we're going to pour this out right here. Actually, I'll pour it into the spoon. All right. And now I'm going to go ahead and pour it down for you guys so you can see it. Here it is. So it's not super thin. It's not super thick, which I certainly appreciate. I like the thinner sauces myself. I think they glaze a little bit better, so you can see it. Got some nice spices in there, which I like. All right, so let's go ahead and give it a test. This is just straight out of the bottle, not heated. It has not been doctored at all. You just saw me open it. So let's go ahead and see what Dave has going on here in the sauce business. Wow, look at all those spices. Very nice. Wow, that's good. Okay, so, nice little little heat thing at the end. It is, for my palate, first of all, I like this sauce a lot. But bar none, this is a very good sauce. It has nothing to do with the fact that Dave's a sponsor. If it sucked, I'd tell you it sucks. But remember, it's important to remember that perhaps what my palate is agreeable with isn't necessarily what your palate would be agreeable with. Oh, man, that's good. Get that nice vinegar kick. Oh, I love that. And just that right amount of heat coming on the back. And this is basically, it's not cold, it's room temperature. This is going to be good pretty much on anything. Maybe even burgers. Definite chicken. Definite ribs. Definite pork butt. This is a great sauce. Wow. Oh, man, what a wonderful smell. Oh, yeah. I love that. Oh, man. Good amount of vinegar. It might be teetering on a little sweet, but I will take a little sweet than smoky or crappy or anything like that. So Dave Bosca, win with the sauce, buddy. Absolute win with the sauce. Check him out, butcherbbq.com. Oh, wow, that's good. I might snack on that during the break. Gang, quick reminder about the Draper's Barbecue rubs and sauces, by the way. I know we're transitioning into a new sauce. Draper's Barbecue is a third-generation barbecue company located in western Kentucky, in between Memphis and Kansas City. And Shane Draper has created a line of products that represent both cities as well as the flavor profiles of his home. Draper's Smokin' Sauce is a savory with a touch of sweetness and a tang with some heat. Its balanced yet complex blend of spices is at home on the competition trail as it is grilling in your backyard. Now, Draper's also has a fantastically versatile seasoning simply known as AP Rub, the AP short for all-purpose, as it is a great flavor enhancer on any protein, but it can be also used on popcorn, french fries, salads and onion rings, soups and chowders, Chex Mix, baked potatoes, and in dredges for frying fish and chicken. Basically, your imagination is its only limitation. AP Rub's balance of savory, salty, sweet, and heat make it great on virtually anything. Now, Smokin' Sauce and AP Rub are great products standing alone. However, they really shine when they're used together. The mix of the two products will keep the judges thinking about your entry long after they have put it down. And forget about the judges. Your friends and neighbors will think the same thing. And don't miss the opportunity to claim your limited edition Draper's Barbecue Christmas gift box, only available at drapersbbq.com. 75 will be made available to the general consuming public, and the box includes a large stainless steel rub shaker, a bottle of Smokin' Sauce, and a pound of AP Rub, and 3 recipes hand-picked by Shane himself, all included in a beautifully wrapped gift box to slap a name tag on and slide under the tree. Check the website this week for ordering details. Find Draper's products at drapersbbq.com, bbqaddicts.com, or bbqproshop.com. 3 different outlets on the internet to find them, and they're all trusted Draper's Barbecue resources. Draper's Barbecue, of course, is always looking for local stores in your area. So email Shane at info@drapersbbq.com And you could learn, or your tip could lead to you getting some free swag from Shane. It doesn't get better than that. Draper's Barbecue, when they say 3 generations of pride and flavor in a bottle, they certainly damn mean it. DrapersBBQ.com. And again, thanks to Dave Bosca from Butcher Barbecue. We'll come back with Toby Shea from the British Barbecue Society after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Radio Network studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, we are back. Almost 14 till the top of the hour. Don't forget, coming up in the second hour, it's going to be Meathead Goldwyn. We're going to be talking turkey with him. So, Centralites, let's be honest, rarely does a conversation from the previous week's show carry over to the next week's show. And to date, I don't think there has ever been a case where an interview has uncovered perhaps an even bigger event going on in the barbecue world, but that's exactly what happened tonight. You would remember that Ray Lampe was on last week. I asked him almost in passing about this International Barbecue Initiative or whatever it was being called, and he was a little sour on the fact that he wasn't invited as someone to go over and teach, but that ends up being kind of a small portion of a much bigger issue, and here to talk about it is the guy who founded and runs the British Barbecue Society. He has been on the show before, and he joins me tonight. It's Toby Shea, ladies and gentlemen. Toby, how are you, buddy? Toby. It's all right. Outstanding. Let's try this again. I'm using the iPad for the first time to actually call. Oh, wow. Everything just went away. What's happened? He'll come up here in a second. Just relax. Thanks again to Dave Bosca from Butcher Barbecue for that sauce. Oh, my God. There's a good chance I might be drinking that a little bit later. Toby, call me in Skype, buddy. Where'd you go? You were there, and now it's not on my contact list for some reason. Let's go back to the online contacts. Hey, you're not there. Hey, there you are. Hold on a second. I'm calling you. Toby.
Hi, Greg. How you doing?
Hey! Toby, how are you, buddy?
Yeah, not bad at all. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me all right?
Absolutely perfect.
All right. So, Toby, I was just mentioning in the open before I brought you up that we kind of uncovered a little bit of what's going on last week with Ray Lampe talking about this International Barbecue Initiative that the Kansas City Barbecue Society was kind of mentioning, or it was being bannered about on some of the forums. A little kind of like a little bit of sour grapes on his end, which he admitted to, which is fine. But after talking with you after the show last week, there seemed to be not issues, but some other things that perhaps needed to be straightened out, or at least brought to attention on your part. So why don't you go ahead and talk about the International Barbecue Network and kind of talk about that reason behind it.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think it's important to start off with the background of the British Barbecue Society, which have been running for the last 4 years. Basically, I created the British Barbecue Society purely as a basis to allow teams in the UK to compete on a regular basis, so that we stopped finishing in the bottom 10 at the Jack Daniels. So the Jack Daniels is the only major international event that the UK teams have ever been part of. And, after Mad Cow won it back in 2004, it was always bottom 10. Nobody had the opportunity to train or experience that type of barbecue. So we applied the rules that we used at the Jack Daniels and created the British Barbecue Society. We've been running, we're now entering our 4th year of competitions, started off with 2 and up to 3, 4 this year. We performed in front of about 150,000 people this year. And we're really working hard on spreading the word, but the popularity is growing. The market over here is completely different to the States, so we don't get the funding, we don't get sponsorship. It's on a completely different level. So when you organise an event, you have to. It's not a case of just walking in and sanctioning something. It's a case of actually organising the event, running the event, paying for the event, and obviously working out the prizes, etc., etc. So anyway, this year we've decided that, it's something I've been looking on for quite a while, and I thought it was about time that we tried to expand what we did here in the UK and offer the same service and the experience that we've gained over in Europe. So I created the International Barbecue Network. Now, that's going to be sanctioning all of the British Barbecue Society competitions next year, because we've got 2 competitions that we run basically in my field. One certainly in May, and there's no need for any external personal company to get involved with that, because obviously the costs are a lot lower. But we've got quite a few external competitions where people running big events have asked us to put on a barbecue competition, whether it be low and slow or grilling, because we run Ready, Steady, Q and Kids Q as well. We put on a whole show about barbecue over an entire weekend. So we decided to create a sanctioning body that can offer that service to these big shows that already operate. So the International Network has been in the pipeline. We've been working on it for close to a year now. And as part of that, I sent a proposal to the Jack Daniels about 3 months ago. And that proposal basically said, the international teams at the moment, Canada has now got a fully functional qualification circuit. Obviously, the States is huge. The British team actually have to qualify. So the British team that represents at the Jack Daniels is the overall points winner from 2 competitions. So all the teams will go to, they compete in more, but the total point tally for those 2 competitions chooses who will actually go and represent the UK at the Jack Daniels. So we go through a qualification process. Now, there's obviously a lot of teams out there that don't do that. There's a lot of invites. There's the teams that have been grandfathered, which is completely understandable. They've been part of the event for such a long time, and they always will be. But there are other teams or other competitions in Europe that have been working. The rules are slightly different, not quite in line with sort of like the Jack Daniels event, but with some slight changes and some support from people such as ourselves. Then they would be able to put forward a good and suitable qualified champion that's actually earned the place. So part of my proposal was we had the one place for the UK. I said, could we have another place for the UK so we could hold an international barbecue event? Because at the moment, only people with UK passports can enter our competitions to win the prize at the Jack Daniels, which was part of the agreement when we first got that place. So opening them up, there's teams all over Europe that want to compete and want to really have a go at winning a competition where they can get the prestigious place at the Jack Daniels. I then said, could we have another 3 places? Because there are already competitions in Europe that, should be recognised because they've been running for years. The rules are slightly different. With a bit of tweaking, again, they could put forward a champion that has qualified or is cooking a similar type of food. And I just think it's an important way forward. So after this proposal went into the Jack Daniels, it was referred back to Wayne and Carolyn Wells at KCBS. And it's unfortunately, I've just not heard anything back at all. I was actually at the Jack Daniels this year. I was told that I'd have a couple of meetings over there to basically say, it was supposed to be signed off. I was told by the particular person at KCBS that my meeting with Jack Daniels would be pretty quick. They've agreed the whole thing in principle, only to get there to find out that everything had changed. Debbie wasn't really aware of what we were trying to do. Her impression was that I was working with KCBS. It's just become a very confusing situation, and the lack of communication coming back from KCBS. I mean, KCBS have been no part in my proposal. I truly would not understand how they would make any money over here. The costs of running the events, the judging classes, they wouldn't be able to get as much money. There wouldn't be the uptake. I know, for example, they're looking at running a competition in Holland, which is great. I mean, Harry Havinga, that's actually running that. It sounds like a cracking competition. There needs to be some clarification on the place of the Jack Daniels. They're on the understanding at the moment that the overall winner of that competition will get a place, whereas the Jack Daniels position is they want the top team from that country, the same situation as us, to get that place. Now, if they opened it up to the top team, then that means they would get a hell of a lot more teams travelling from all over Europe. It would be a much bigger event, which would help the organiser, which would help Harry in, organising and getting more publicity about this event. So there's a lot of confusion with things like that as well. And we just need a clear message sent back from whoever's making these decisions so we can move forward.
Toby, let me interrupt just for a second here, just so we can get a little bit more background. When we're talking about you have events going on in England, and then there's other events going around in Europe that may or may not be similar to the events that you're putting on in some respects, whether they be small or large. What kind of rules are you using as British Barbecue Society, and what kind of rules for judges would you be using if, like the International Barbecue Network, were able to institute a broad scope of rules, similar, I guess, to KCBS here in the States? It kind of is governing the same as it would in Washington, the same as it would in Nebraska, the same as it would in Florida, because that's why you get the sanctioning. Similar idea for you, getting the rules and sanctioning for British Barbecue Society or International Barbecue Network to run across, whether it be England or any other the European companies or countries as well?
Yeah, no, I understand the question, and the basis is if the prize at the end is a place at the Jack Daniels, then you want to be using the rules that are used at the Jack Daniels. I know there's a lot of people out there that question the fact that our rules are so close to KCBS, which I hold my hands up to. I'm certainly not going to deny that, because the whole point of this is that we're trying to train a team that will do well at the Jack Daniels. If you're going towards, these rules will be used throughout IBQ, and through the International Barbecue Network, we have the same rules throughout. If countries want to have a grilling competition as well, that's why we've got Ready Steady Q. That's why we've got Kids Q. But the four main categories have to meet the same layout as the Jack Daniels. What I would say to anyone that questions why we've done this, and that there's people sort of like in the background sort of like saying, oh, they've stolen our ideas, etc. If I was going to the Olympics and if I wanted to, if I was going to enter the long jump, I wouldn't start practicing with the javelin, because that wouldn't give me what I need to do and what I need to learn and what I need to get good at to actually take part in the main event. So therefore, for the Jack Daniels rules, we've got to use the Jack Daniels rules to actually move forward to educate people. It's as simple as that. It's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. And I'm very sorry if people think that we've been untoward.
So you're saying that people are basically saying that you've stolen KCBS rules and passing them off as your own?
Oh, I'm not sure that's being said in the background. I've heard people always whisper about things like that. But, the simple fact is when I started up the British Barbecue Society, KCBS weren't anywhere near the UK. Jackie from Mad Cow Barbecue, she won the Jack in 2004, but there wasn't any barbecue movement after that. There was she went into the commercial side of the business with Cook Shack and Fast Eddie, rather than actually starting any type of competition circuit. I know it was always a dream of Rick, but that was never going to happen. People have tried to start up competitions, but they've been individual competitions. And before 2010, well, Weird World started up in 2009, Grill Stock started up in 2010. It's a great individual event, but there was no consistency beforehand. So what I did was actually take the rules that are accepted and most widely used. I agreed with, I am a firm believer in blind judging, so that's what I'm going to stick to. And so we are going to use similar rules. It's as simple as that. We've made some changes. Next year in particular, we've listened to what people say in the competition circuit. We've made changes like, for example, sort of like cooking pork as a whole piece of meat. Now, I cannot go round and ask every single competitor or team to open up their cookers to prove to me that the pork is still together. Therefore, it's a rule that I can't police. So we've taken that out. We're fully aware that that's still in place in the States and at the Jack Daniels, etc., and it would have to, we'd have to adhere to it. But if I can't police it in the UK, I'm not going to put that rule in there. It's just applying a bit of common sense, and because we are not, we're a small organisation, so we can actually make those changes. We've still got a small following. We've got a small number of teams. We've built it up from 5 teams in our first competition. This year, I think we had 36 teams overall competing over the season. So, we're getting there, but we need to be consistent with the rules. We started off using those rules, and we're going to finish off using those rules.
All right, so Toby Shea joining us here, by the way, on the show. You can visit his website. It's the British Barbecue Society, 3 Bs, BBB, and then QS.com, also now International Barbecue Network. Toby, how many international teams, not Canada necessarily, but as far as European, how many teams are going into the Jack Daniels every year?
I guess there were about, I think the total international team this year was about 20. I know that I was told when I was over there that a couple of years ago they had 23 international teams. But I think it varies from year to year. Obviously, they want an international following. Canada's changed this year with their qualifications. So they've got a certain amount of teams that are actually grandfathered in. Then they had the 4 regional champions. Now, I mean, that's absolutely fantastic, the fact that the regions have been recognised. This year we had 3 grand champions, and the competitions were all held in different counties. Your version of a state, albeit much smaller. The fact that England can fit into Texas 3 times is, on the scale of things, it's. But they're all in different regions, so we had 3 grand champions. We have the one place; they have to fight it out, and it's a shame because these guys follow the circuit. I've taken teams over to the American Royal for 2 years in 2009, 2010. And a lot of these guys that compete came over with me to meet people, to understand, to learn, and they're very keen, and they go out there and talk about barbecue a lot. And it would just be nice if there was some way to recognise the effort that they put in, especially if they've obviously won one of our competitions.
Yeah, so we're looking at about 20, maybe 23 spots on the high end of 1 year for international teams. And from what I'm gathering, what you would like to see or what you would like to have more or less mandated, and we'll probably get into the next segment as far as who should be giving you backing or who should give you a yes or a no or a yay or some kind of answer, is the fact that in the States, as a barbecue competition team, you go to a proclamated event. If you win that event, then you are, put into the hopper for your chance to potentially be drawn. You have to have won something in order to be considered or possibly be chosen for the Jack Daniels, unless you won the last year and then you're automatically included for the following year, or you win 7 within a certain period of time and then you're automatically qualified. But you would like to see the international teams, and again, we're holding Canada because obviously they have a new thing set in place as well, but as far as European teams, you would like to have them at least meet the similar qualifications that the United States teams are having to meet each and every year, because some team from Europe might have been coming for the last 5 or 6 years. They might not have even cooked this year, but they still get to go to the Jack Daniels. So when you're walking down International Row, some of these teams might not have cooked, and it's not necessarily, it's not necessarily as fair for the international teams as it is for the United States teams. The United States had to win something in order to be considered. That's not necessarily the case. You just want to make it even and bring up the level of play from Europe, as far as I understand.
Well, I mean, there's several ways to look at it. I don't want to go down the slippery slope of politics or anything else like that, but I understand that a lot of the international teams have helped make the competition what it is, and I completely understand them maintaining their places. But it would be nice if a certain amount, even if it's an increase on the amount of international teams that attend the competition each year, if there could be a certain amount of teams that actually do earn the place. Because I think there's someone that provides an international team and someone that's been over there and listened to the feedback. There needs to be a level of respect. We understand exactly what the American teams have been through to get that place, and it's something everyone strives towards. Now, to be appreciated by the American teams, yes, okay, we will travel a long way. But to be honest, that's irrelevant. We travel a long way because we want to travel a long way to be there. If we have actually got a few teams there, even if it's sort of like an additional one every year, where we can say, yes, this additional team qualified, this additional team's qualified, then sort of like we can get a little bit more respect from sort of like the American teams, and I think that's really important. I understand it's going to be a slow process. I really do, and I'm not talking about changes wholesale. I'm just saying maybe an additional place, or even if it's not in the UK, if someone else gets it and can run a competition in Europe, but it's open to everyone in Europe, fantastic, because it would be a superb event. I mean, there would be sort of like teams from the UK, Germany, Belgium, Holland, all going to a single country for one competition and following the same set of rules. It would really put barbecue on the map, because the style of competition running over 2 days, it would just get spoken about. So it would be a good idea. It would be a good idea.
All right, Toby Shea joining us here on the show. Toby, I'm going to have you wait just 1 second here while I get in this spot real quick, and we'll come back, pick up our conversation with Toby Shea of the British Barbecue Society. Gang, I was just taste testing, still right here on the floor, Dave Bosca's sweet barbecue sauce. Just did it about 20 minutes ago right here on the Barbecue Central radio show. As far as sauces that I have tasted recently, and I get bottles and bottles of sauce every week. Try this, try that. Look, a lot of stuff doesn't make it to air because, quite frankly, it sucks. What can I say?
Get that big stuff out of here.
I took a risk. Even my wife said, well, what if you don't like that sauce from Dave? You're kind of taking a risk because your face is going to show that you don't like it. You might throw up, vomit. I said, well, that's what it's all about. I want to vomit if it's bad, but I want to be able to drink it like a fifth of whiskey if it's really good, and Dave really hit the mark with that. So if you've ever been teetering on Dave Bosca's sauces, teeter no longer. Know from your faithful host, and I'm going to give it to you honest. It's really good. It's going to be working well on a number of different canvases, if you will. Brisket, definitely. Chicken, for sure. No doubt for chicken. Ribs, absolutely. Pulled pork, it's going to go great. Now, we all know Dave's big, huge claim to fame are those injections, especially the brisket and the pork injection. You can stock up all you want. You can get your injectors. You can get huge amounts of injection if you want, if you're a competition team. You know that Dave's products are winning because multiple teams are using the product and they're winning with it. Hell, Dave himself uses his own product. Guess what? He's winning with it. Of course he is. Ridiculous. This is what you do. You go to the website, butcherbbq.com, butcherbbq.com, and you check out the shop. He's got rubs as well, which I'm using right now. I tried the brisket rub on some pot roast, believe it or not, the other day, and it was phenomenal. Love the brisket and the steak rub. The sauce is good. Plus, he's got that revolutionary new product called Grill, which is both an injection and a marinade. You can use them as a marinade or as an injection, or you can marinate and then inject to double infuse the flavor. Do yourself a favor right now. Go to butcherbbq.com, look at Dave's products, and order as much as possible because they're quite simply some of the best products out there on the market, not just for competition, but for your backyard as well. I don't compete. And don't forget, I believe it's next March, Dave is going to be putting on a barbecue competition cooking class as well. We will double-check that. We'll probably have Dave on before that as well. ButcherBBQ.com. We'll come back with more Toby Shea right after this.
Get in the smoke. Call 877-448-0433 to get on the air. Now, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Big B, Moonshine Band, Suburban Boys Records. Let's go!
I'm an outlaw. Give me 2 shots. We don't need a radio. Bring a jukebox for my outlaws. Bring me 3 shots. We can raise hell before the speed stops. I'm a whiskey drinking SOB. If you don't like that, then you won't like me. I'm an outlaw.
Oh, yeah, we are back. Outlaws, baby. We're all barbecue outlaws. Don't forget Meathead joining us here in the 10 o'clock hour. But we continue with Toby Shea from the British Barbecue Society. All right, Toby, so we've talked about what we would like to see. You know, the Jack Daniels, to me, is a very unique. I've never had any problem criticizing the event itself, although a lot of people want to hold it in ultimate high regard as the ultimate thing to win and blah, blah, blah. When you get in touch with Debbie Christensen and ask her to give you some type of go-ahead, do you immediately get kicked back to KCBS for some type of an acknowledgement, or how does that whole interaction work?
No. I mean, obviously, Debbie has a very difficult job of, trying to coordinate everything over there. I mean, it was proved when I tried to have a meeting with her, actually at the Jack, absolute chaos. And I can imagine it's like that pretty much all the time, people trying to get hold of her. I think because, obviously, you've got the international element there and the team, Wayne's team that kind of looks after the international teams. When I put the proposal forward, she said she would have to she wanted to refer it back to them to see what their opinion was. So, I can understand their point of view. I think what frustrates me is the fact that there hasn't been any direction from KCBS. It's a very difficult situation.
Let me interrupt, Toby. I mean, what would you like to see? As somebody who's made a proposal, you're waiting for some type of answer back. You made the trip over to Jack. You pretty much got shined on, for lack of a better term, but didn't get any further clarification. What would you like to see back from somebody?
Just to say whether or not it's going to happen. I mean, I held back. I mean, the plan for the International Barbecue Network has been going on behind the scenes for about a year. The proposal was sent forward 3 months ago, but I was holding on. And the problem is, rather than launching it, I was waiting to find out exactly where we stood, and that's really important. When we're talking about a fledgling, and even after 4 years, we're still new. We're still trying to promote. We're still trying to persuade all the companies out there that could give us possible sponsorship that we're worth following and we're worth backing, but without firm information about what we can actually offer them next year, how far we're going to go, how we're going to incentivize the new competitions. Everything was on hold. So I left it another month, and then I had no option but to we'd go ahead and launch it anyway. We've got everything in place to make this work. Even if there aren't any additional sort of like invitational spots for next year, we're still in a position to actually help any other competitions that want help. The great thing about Europe, we've got the Channel Tunnel. Okay, we're an island at the moment. We can get over there pretty quickly. Teams in the UK, it's all very well getting new teams in, starting off slowly and bringing people in from a ground level. But the guys that compete regularly, they want to take other people on as well. So it's just a case of opening up Europe and, creating competitions or creating a bigger competition circuit. We want regular fixtures. We want competitions all over the place that everyone can take part in on a level playing field. But they want to follow those type of rules. There's the World Barbecue Association, but their rules are different. These guys and myself, I'm not interested in sort of like a grilling element. I'm not interested in sticking a potato in with something that I cook or a tomato, etc., etc. So we're just talking about creating an environment where teams can go out and practice and compete regularly.
So when you hear something along the lines of this KCBS barbecue initiative, do you almost feel, I don't want to say betrayed or, just kind of sidestepped around, perhaps would be a better term, because this is something that I guess you have kind of been working on, and all of a sudden now it's almost being proposed to you out of the blue?
The biggest problem for me, and I am confused about the whole situation. That's the best way to put it, because I don't understand how it will work. KCBS, it's a fantastic organisation. It provides what teams need to carry on. Yeah, everyone's got their gripes about sort of like the rules and sort of like competitions, and everyone would love to change something, but that's always going to be the case when you've got something that's so big. But you cannot charge the same for a judging course in Europe, because they're going to be sanctioning the competition in Holland next year. So those judges that qualify, they're going to pay for the course. They're going to pay to become Kansas City Barbecue Society members.
Yeah.
That will be the only competition in Europe that's KCBS, unless something else is pulled out of the bag. Now those judges are going to have to renew their KCBS membership to be able to judge the following year. So they're going to be paying quite a lot of money to judge one competition a year. So from that side, it doesn't necessarily work. There isn't the amount of sponsorship over here. So, competitions, it's a totally different scale and a totally different level of cost that it is.
So, I mean, it would encourage teams to get in if they knew they were going to have more opportunities to be able to attend the Jack Daniels if they were going to be winning events. This isn't like you're going to get $50,000 if you win a prize like some of the competitions over here. In order to get more and more anticipation, more growth over in Europe, you want to have those extra Jack Daniels spots if you can secure them then.
Well, you've got to, really, because we haven't got the sponsorship, because there isn't the awareness over here. We couldn't pull in the sponsors to offer that type of prize money. I mean, it's conversations that I've had with sort of like the teams that compete, put it on the forum. What do you want to do? Do you want us to increase the entry fee and sort of like split whatever money is left over to cash prizes? And the answer is no. We need to keep the costs low to incentivise new teams to come in and compete.
Right.
So it's kind of catch-22, and what's going to happen? There are very few people that will be in a position to organise a competition or want to do that with the investment, and then say to someone else, "Okay, you come in and sanction it for me. It's going to cost sort of like a couple of $1,000s, for example, to sanction a competition. On top of that, they're going to want to do the judging. It suddenly puts a whole other cost on it. If I had to do that when I first started off the society, it just wouldn't be feasible. What you've got to understand is in the UK, I organise, I fund, and I run the competitions. So it's not a case of just I am a sanctioning person that's coming in and jumping on someone else's barbecue competition to run it. If someone doesn't actually do the whole package, then it doesn't happen. So I'm just curious as to how they're going to make it work. And financially, obviously, they've got the additional costs of sort of like obviously travelling over here. I know some people get it cheap, but others don't. So, where's that coming from? I mean, I'm a paid-up KCBS member, so I think I've got as much right as anyone else to ask those questions.
So being somebody that is in charge of a fully functional and operating, growing in popularity, barbecue sanctioning competition organization, is there a possibility that you and KCBS could strike a deal where they would allow you to, use the rules that you have that be some kind of a KCBS relation, and then be able to get you these additional spots at the Jack Daniels, so as not for them to come over and incur all of these additional costs or make it more expensive for you to run your competitions because you pretty much have everything already in place?
Well, that's the thing we do. As part of my original proposal to the Jack Daniels was that I said, for this to work, I want KCBS's support. And, I made it clear that KCBS wouldn't necessarily work in Europe because so many competitions, well, I say so many, a lot of competitions exist, but they have completely different rules. Now, they're not going to amend those rules to fulfill KCBS's requirements. So with an intermediary such as ourselves that can offer the interface between KCBS and those competitions to bring them as close into line as possible, that would work. We're already on the ground here. I was asked to write a sort of like a list of opinions and ideas for the board as to why I wanted my barbecue competition to be sanctioned by KCBS and various different responses. And I made it very clear in that I did not want anything to be sanctioned by KCBS. I don't think it would work. And it's not saying pushing someone else on. What frustrates me, I know people, are of the opinion that I'm trying to take over barbecue over here, or I'm being arrogant or anything else like that. I'm not at all. I've worked hard for what I've done. I don't get anything out of it. I make a loss. The one thing I want to do is compete, and I can't do that because I run the competitions. Now, if KCBS were over here, it would give me that opportunity to compete, which would be great. And one thing that I will say, and it's to be honest, it's directed at the KCBS board, and it's quite a quite a major thing, but I would stick to it, and obviously everyone would hear it. For anyone that thinks I'm trying to take over barbecue, which, to be honest, is ludicrous, I'm more than happy to give them, i.e. KCBS, the details of all the competitions that I'll be involved in next year if KCBS want to run them, which, as I said, it would give me the opportunity to actually compete. But they will have to bear in mind that we'll not only have to sanction the events, they will have to set them up physically, run them, fund them. Because barbecue in Europe is a far cry from the US,
right?
And it does require heavy funding. But it's a genuine offer. If they honestly believe that I'm out for personal gain or something like that, it's absolutely ridiculous. And I'm more than happy to pass off all of the competitions in the UK that I'm involved with over to them if they are going to run them. If they are going to do what needs to be done. But it's not a case of, flying in, just sanctioning it, expecting everything to be set up. You have to be on the ground. You have to set these things up. But, you've heard it, and I mean it. If they want the competitions in the UK, they can have them, because I'm not interested in the backroom politics. I've put my name out there, and pretty much anyone can find contact details for me. If they've got any questions or don't understand what I'm doing, don't understand what I'm saying, they can get in touch with me and ask me. But there's such a big problem with Chinese whispers at the moment, and nobody's coming straight to the source to actually ask the questions, that it's just becoming a confusing mess, and it's incredibly frustrating.
Toby Shea joining us here on the show. Toby, if they decided to do that, take over those competitions, do everything you said, would you also like them to give you the caveat that whoever was winning these events would also get an automatic bid into the Jack Daniels then?
I think you'll find that if they were actually running the competitions, it would probably change anyway. So it's one of those things. It would be out of my hands. I haven't got the influence to actually make those decisions. I have to rely on the people that are supposed to have the passion about barbecue, and not have personal agendas is the wrong word, but everyone's got their own interests at heart. Everyone that's involved with KCBS has KCBS at heart. They've got to make a decision as to whether they're, you've got one side, people are saying, I don't want any of my money being used in Europe. We need to sort out problems in the States. You've got the other side that would say, it's time to go over to Europe. Let's do these competitions. Well, that's fine, but don't stop someone else that's trying to do the same thing just because you think you might be able to do it as well. And that is the impression that I'm under, that there's hesitation, because I'm not asking KCBS to be involved. I shouldn't need their approval, but there seems to be some sort of stall as to what's happening.
All right,
it might be a case that after this that I lose I lose my main Jack Daniels place, which I really hope I don't, because the guys work very hard for it. All I'm trying to do is move things forward.
All right, Toby Shea joining us here on the show. You can find him again at BBB, that's 3 Bs, BBBQS.com. And, Toby, I certainly appreciate you coming on tonight and giving us your side of what's happening out there, especially with that barbecue initiative. Good luck to you, and, whether it be on air or off air, let me know how it all turns out, and good luck to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Greg. Appreciate the opportunity to talk.
Take care. There he is.
Cheers.
Toby Shea, British Barbecue Society. Lots to react to there, which I will after this next break, especially given the fact that we are kind of talking about the Jack Daniels to a certain degree. Again, quick reminder about my good friend, Fred Bonato of Fred's Music and Tasty Licks Barbecue Supply. Look, folks, as someone who is endeared himself and built a very, very small following on the internet, you got to be comfortable with whoever you're dealing with on the internet. You tune in to me every Tuesday night because you feel comfortable. I'm going to be giving you an entertaining show. I'm going to be getting you some international guests, mostly national guests. But we're going to be bringing it to you in a fun and a positive way, sometimes not so funny when I attempt to be funny. But you trust me, and that's why when you're doing business on the internet, you have to deal with somebody that you can trust. I can give you example after example, especially since I run my own barbecue forum outside of the show, where people post the most spectacular deals ever with such and such barbecue.com or gofindthischeapprice.net. Yeah, well, two things that you quickly realize. A, both of them have no problem taking your money. Secondly, the first one I mentioned might fold up in 24 hours. They are now nowhere to be found. And hey, no problem. You're never going to get your gifts. You're never going to get your stuff. Beat it. We took your money. We're running. Too bad. We're unsavory on the interwebs. The other people, they might take your money. You might eventually get your product, but it could be 8 months from now because they don't have the ability to secure the products at the cost that they need to make their money. Do yourself a favor. Forget all that. Go to TastyLicksBBQSupply.com or Fred'sMusicAndBBQ.com and shop Fred's huge inventory. And know this. Buy knowing for 100% sure that Fred has everything in stock in Shillington, Pennsylvania, and he'll ship out to you promptly. You can trust him, and you get support after you purchase. Nothing is more frustrating than thinking you know that you're going to be able to work whatever gadget or gizmo that you get from Fred when it shows up on your doorstep. You can't do it. You just don't have the mental wherewithal, and it's very frustrating. You can pick up a phone, you can pick up your computer, you can email, or you can call Fred or one of the other many knowledgeable salespeople over at Fred's Music and Barbecue. They're going to get you taken care of because that's what they're all about. Customer service first. Competitive pricing and trustworthy on the internet with your discretionary dollars. Fred's Music and BBQ.com. Fred also putting on a competition cooking class next year as well. More details to follow. Tasty Licks BBQ.com will wrap up the first hour, and then it's Meathead in the second hour. Stick around.
Big name interviews, advice on cooking brisket and ribs, and the only host willing to share his honest opinion on all things important in the world of barbecue. It's the Barbecue Central Show.
Coming up on 5 minutes till the top of the hour, 55 past the hour of 9. Thanks again to Toby Shea from British Barbecue Society. Meathead coming up in about 20 minutes. Talking turkey. Lots of other stuff to get to, by the way. Look, here's the deal, right? You're Toby Shea. You founded the British Barbecue Society. Obviously somebody who has a passion for competing. He's kind of sick and tired of the fact that some of these Euro teams have been given a pass. They don't have to meet the same requirements as the American teams have to, which, honestly, it can be frustrating. I completely understand where he's coming from. But here's the problem. It's like the contest that he has chosen to try and get in with, that being the Jack Daniels. And unless I'm completely wrong, and I know I'm not, that's not affiliated with, it is not a sanctioned KCBS contest. I have said for years that KCBS runs a very awkwardly gray-shaped cloud because they will train judges. They will use KCBS rules, but it is not a KCBS sanctioned contest that if you win, that is going to count towards your points for overall team of the year if you're even in that chase. So if you're Toby Shea and you're trying to have the European teams meet at least some kind of a similar standard that the American teams and now the Canadian teams are being held at, which that's commendable. He could easily just get some of the same crappy teams that show up, mail it in, and they're just happy to be over there. And who knows how they get over there, whether Brown Foreman is paying or not, whatever the case may be. But he wants to get that stigma of European teams sucking at the Jack Daniels away by having the teams that are out there doing American-style competition barbecue in Europe meet similar qualifications to what the European or what the American teams are doing. I think that's a great story. I think that's a great idea. Why wouldn't you want to be at least on a similar, on somewhat of a same playing field? I don't think it's a stretch by any stretch, redundant. I don't think it's a stretch to say that the talent discrepancy is probably large. I would always feel better about an American competition barbecue team because it is an American style cuisine faring better than European competition barbecue teams. But it's not going too far out of the realm to at least have them competing within similar rules, or at least having to have had to win something in order to be able to compete in the Jack Daniels. Maybe that would give them a better opportunity at winning. But to approach the Jack Daniels and ask them for more spots, I don't know why they would bother sending that off to KCBS. Like I said, there's a lot of weird brother-sister stuff that maybe I don't even get to see or that I don't even hear about. But if Debbie is the one organizing this event, it should be strictly up to her whether she wants to allow Toby to have 5 more events or 6 more events or however many events get to qualify normally. Well, now these teams have to have won something, and it has to be on a similar playing field to what the American teams. It's not fair to the American teams either. That European teams get to come in and not have had to have won something. You have to win something in order to get into the Jack Daniels, the most prestigious event during the course of the calendar season, the one that everybody wants to win, whether they admit it or not. And if you're a European team coming over here, you should be able to be held to similar criteria. Does it make sense for KCBS to go over there to sanction competitions, to start competitions, or, as Toby said, to take over all of his competitions? I don't see where that would make any cost effectiveness whatsoever. It would heap cost on those competitions, which would probably immediately become less attractive for the Europeans to take part in. They're not going to get any more experience cooking American-style barbecue to then translate that over to the Jack Daniels in the future. So I think there's kind of a weird area there with that particular competition. If it was the American Royal, that might be different. That is a KCBS-sanctioned event. Maybe we should be focusing on that one for the invitational side. Who knows? I mean, obviously, there's always been a long-standing international presence at the Jack Daniels. It's a Brown-Forman run thing, and it's a Brown-Forman run thing, period. It should be up to Debbie whether she wants to change that or not. She shouldn't have to look to KCBS for any ruling, nor should KCBS have to go hand-in-hand with Jack Daniels on that as well. What do you think? Shouldn't the Europeans be held to a similar standard? All you guys out there that compete, want to get to the Jack, it's not fair to you. What if you got to sit on your ass for 12 months and then just get re-invited to one of the most prestigious competitions during the course of the year? Probably wouldn't like that too much, would you? All right, we'll come back with the second hour and Meathead at about 14 past the hour. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Show right here on the Barbecue Central Radio Networks.
This is Huck Jr., the host of In the Hut, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Network. All barbecue and grilling, all the time.
From my heart and from my hand, why don't people understand my intention?
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan. So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
Charbono! It's all about the charbono, dude!
Succulent fish! What?
He ate 54 wieners.
But listen, Lavernius, shake a face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
You could use it to fight off creeping marauders looking to take your steaks off your grills.
I just like being anywhere with Junior, Senior, and Diva.
Sounds like a whole other type of movie.
Wow. Yeah, really. Keep it hot, keep it clean, keep it lubricated.
We have top men working on it right now. Ooh, top men.
Hey, just like that, we're in the second hour already. Wow. Thanks again to Toby Shea for joining us, talking about the British Barbecue Society and his hope on that International Barbecue Initiative. Sounds like it might have been pilfered in a way. My opinion, not his. BBBQS.com. Check them out. All right. Meathead will be up in about 12 minutes from now. We're going to be talking turkey for the rest of the show. Also, a free Luftlighter will be given away. 877-448-0433. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com is the ways to get in touch with the show. I don't know if you've heard about this. If you have a local Home Depot that has stocked, and it has to stock, it's not on the website. But I got communication from top men at around 9:45 last evening that if you have Home Depots around you and they were able to stock the 18.5-inch Weber Smoky Mountain, they are now on a ridiculous clearance price, $41. Hello.
What?
I said $41.
What?
Wow. Pick up your phone. Call if you have. I had like 3 or 4 around me. I had one. They had it on hold, and then some mother sold it out from under me. Thanks for nothing.
Get that big stuff out of here.
$41, 18.5-inch Weber Smoky Mountains. Call your local. All right, call your local. And then if you want, take the SKU number down and quiz them if they don't know what an 18.5-inch Weber Smoky Mountain is. It's SKU number 484268. 484268. $41. I've had some other people email me. It was a huge. I've never had so many Facebook posts ever as I did when I made that announcement earlier this morning. Some people don't have the ability to get any because maybe their store wasn't stocking. There were some stores in the Cleveland area that did not stock them, so you weren't able to take advantage of that. But the ones that did were able to get, I believe, Grill Girl got 2 for $41 a piece. That's $82 for you non-mathematicians. I think that's like a $200, $225 unit, brand new, I think, still. Is it $200? So check it out. Again, it's a SKU number 484268. 484268. And again, not online, so don't bother going to Home Depot online and seeing what you know about that. Also, again, want to thank my main man, Dave Bosca, with the Butcher Barbecue Sweet Barbecue Sauce. Highly recommended. I don't do this with all barbecue sauces, but I will take a sip. Oh, that's good. A lot of... Oh, man, I love the vinegar and the spices. Little back-end heat on that. Oh, that's a freaking winner sauce right there. Little thick. For my taste, could be a little thinner. But, the more I'm eating it, like candy, the sweetness isn't too bad, actually. So, it's, hold on a second. 484268. There it is. There's your SKU number, DJ, 484268. Maybe you didn't see this. The Department of Homeland Security, I'm not making this up, by the way. This is coming from the WashingtonExaminer.com. The Department of Homeland Security taking any threat seriously during the Thanksgiving holiday week or weekend, whatever you want to call it, including the ominous threat of the national security posted by turkey fryers. That's right.
What?
I said posted by turkey fryers. How dangerous can turkey fryers be? Asks a warning issued on the official Department of Homeland Security Twitter account. Make sure the turkey is completely thawed before placing in a fryer, or bad things can happen. For instance, it could fountain up and cascade over onto your wooden deck and everything's up in a flame. Forget about it. Use turkey fryers outdoors at a safe distance from buildings, the Department of Homeland Security tweeted. Never use turkey fryers in a garage or on a wooden deck. Not kidding. I actually printed it off because the Department of Homeland Security, while busy with numerous other items, I'm sure, wanted to make sure that you have that ability to know that turkey fryers could be weapons of mass destruction in your own home. Don't burn yourself out of Thanksgiving. We'll talk more with Craig Goldwyn on that here in just a few minutes. Also, completely off topic, I don't know if you saw this. This was in the New York Times, so it has to be true, right? Boys swimming on girls' swim teams find success and then draw jeers. Look, the only reason I bring it up is because I am not sexist. I believe in equality for all. However, I do find it, and I am not above reproach. I have been hypocritical more than one occasion, and this may or may not be one of them. But look, for years, women have complained and whined about equal rights, and we should be able to play sports. And if girls are playing basketball, girls play football, notoriously boy sports, girls are now included in. It's been well documented. But during his first period broadcast Monday this past, the Norwood High School athletic director, Brian McDonough, congratulated Will Higgins for breaking the meet record in the 50-yard freestyle the previous day at the Massachusetts South Division Fall Swimming and Diving Champion. McDonough chose not to mention that it was the girls' swimming championship.
Get that big stuff out of here.
I didn't want to get into that, he said. Anthony Rodriguez, another boy on the Norwood girls team, that's funny, heard a grace note in McDonough's omission. If people hear that you set a record, they're like, oh, that's awesome, Rodriguez said. But if they knew you were competing against girls, they wouldn't have much respect for you. Higgins is a senior at Rodriguez. He's a sophomore and are among roughly 24 boys competing on girls' teams in Massachusetts because their schools do not have boys' swimming programs. They are able to do so because the Open Access Amendment to the state's constitution, which was voted into law in the 1970s, and mandates boys and girls must be afforded equal access to athletics. That's exactly what we're talking about, right? Boys have been members of girls' swim teams since the 1980s, but it hasn't been until recently that this has become more of a issue with people. It's been mostly a sideshow. It's only been in the last year or two that the boys have swum well enough to draw attention. And, of course, that leads to getting people's ire, and the epicenter was this 50-yard freestyle this past weekend. At the Division I state championship on Saturday in Massachusetts Institute of Technology, there were 8 boys in the 28-swimmer field in the 50 free. Although Norwood swimmers was officially ruled ineligible Friday, the other 4 seeds in the 50 freestyle were boys, giving rise to the possibility that a boy could be the girls' state champion. Oh, no, anything but that. Sarah Hooper is a senior at Needham High School. She thought it was frustrating. And where's the other thing that I saw that was... Higgins had a winning time of 23.96. It was his personal best by a second. He broke the girls' sectional record that was set in 1985.
What?
1985 by Cynthia Kangas of Wellesley by 0.14 of a second. So she was... Kangas was let known the day after that her record had finally fallen. She was very excited that somebody had beaten it, which is very gracious. Then she was told that it was done by a boy. She was angry. She didn't like that very much. I'm upset that they give him the record who earned a swimming scholarship to Alabama. There's a reason these are girls' records. If there were no difference in boys' strengths, then it would be a unisex record. That's not really fair. The more I thought about it, the more I couldn't believe that they let him have the record. And isn't that what we're talking about here, folks? You know, nobody cares until somebody wins or breaks records. Nobody cares the fact that these boys are swimming with girls until these boys who have no boys swim team to go to. This is legislation that people wanted 40 years ago, 50 years ago, that people wanted to have in place so girls could be equally treated, which I completely agree with. But if you don't have a boys swim team and you have a girls swim team, you got to know that's going to be coming back around. It's called boomerang. It's called karma. And now all of a sudden everybody in Massachusetts has a little bit of an issue with the fact that a lot of these boys are going to be doing away with a lot of the girls' records when it comes to swimming. So be careful what you wish for, and be happy for. Do you honestly think that the boys are feeling overly wonderful about themselves? They want to compete. You want to compete. But do you want to be doing it against girls? What other choice do you have? You want to swim for your school. You want to do your personal best. To be honest, this guy's winning record-breaking performance, still about a second and 2 or 3/10 shy of what the boys' state record was, but still fairly competitive. But it's a pretty big gap in swimming. I was a competitive swimmer. Second is a pretty big gap. So it's got to be a dual-edged, a double-edged sword for my guy, or from what it seems like guys in Massachusetts. But look, ladies, if you want to play on the football team, and the boys don't have a swim team, everybody's got to play fair, right? Of course. Everybody's got to play fair. You can't just be fair when you want it, and when boys start taking away records. Look, I have no doubt in my mind that if there was a girl football player who was able to break all kinds of running records, if she was a running back or a wide receiver and was able to break reception records or yards gained in the year for the state of Texas, there would absolutely be some type of issue amongst people that aren't happy with the fact that a girl is breaking those records that men set. But you have to be prepared for it on both sides, all right? So let's just play fair. Play fair, we'll get along, and it'll be just great. All right, we're going to be catching up with Meathead here in just a few seconds, but I want to quickly remind you, because the time for gifts and buying is drawing near. Nibble me this. Agreed. So hot. Danica Patrick's so hot. I'll raise you hot to so hot. We have a very few weeks. Friday, folks, is Black Friday, which means a lot of companies that have been losing money all year long will finally hit the black this close to the end of the year. Whether it's their fiscal year or not, this is when they hit the black. Somebody who's always in the black because they're giving you fair deals and quality products is my guy Steven DeFranco, located right here in beautiful Cleveland, Ohio. Willoughby, to be exact. Historic downtown Willoughby in the business district. A retailer of high-end jewelry, watches, Venetian glass jewelry. He has these items that I was just looking at. Very good chance that my wife could be getting these, because I know a guy in the jewelry business just like you do. Take advantage of it. If your wife has like these diamond studs, not stubs, diamond stud earrings, he's got these little like round diamond jackets. They're like little donuts. And the stud goes right in the middle of it, and boom, makes them pop right out, man. It's absolutely fantastic. I love everything about it. Look, gang, he's right here for the taking. You can get insanely good deals if you visit StevenDeFranco.com and then you use that number to call in. Ask for Steve. Tell him you're a listener of the show. Use the term Barbecue Brother. You're going to get a huge discount. You're going to get free shipping no matter where you are. He's going to be able to walk you through your purchase, whether it be a watch, whether it be rings, whether it be necklaces, whether it be sterling silver jewelry, whether it be those Pandora-style bracelets. He'll be able to recommend and build you one specifically to what your needs are, customize it so it's almost like you were here in Cleveland if you're not. And you're going to get so much affection and love and appreciation from your significant other, you're not going to believe it. All the new Accutron watches are in, all the new Bolovas, the Citizens, the Philip & Company watches in stock now for the holidays. Still Christmas layaway available at no extra charge. 6 months same as cash financing available through Springleaf Financial in Ohio only. And that $895 Blue Bud watch, $100 off of that as well. Go to StevenDeFranco.com or visit the Barbecue Central Radio Network's homepage and click on Steven DeFranco banner. Go there, peruse the inventory, and then call in to get your best pricing. Steven DeFranco, located in Willoughby, Ohio, will be back with Meathead right after this.
Big name interviews, advice on cooking brisket and ribs. And the only host willing to share his honest opinion on all things important in the world of barbecue. It's the Barbecue Central Show.
All right, 17 past the hour. 877-448-0433. Greg at the bbqcentralshow.com, and we head over to the hotline. He's a monthly contributor to the show, and he is the proprietor of the most heavily trafficked and popular website ever on the face of the earth when it comes to barbecue. It's Meathead! What's up, Meat?
Hello, Greg. It's good to talk to the Cleveland Cavalier of barbecue.
There's no Cleveland Cavaliers anywhere where I'm from. No Chicago Bulls either.
No, we're bowlless.
Meathead, let's go ahead and forget about turkey just for 3 or 4 seconds here. And, I mean, have you, in your wildest dreams, being a sports fan that you are, looking at all of the other sports that we have, football, hockey, if you can call that a sport, baseball, is there any other players association that would reject a deal getting you like 50% of all them? We're talking billions of dollars, and they've rejected it. Can you possibly believe that they've rejected such a great deal that we now might not have NBA basketball at all this year?
It does boggle the mind. There's all this stuff about respect and being dissed, and golly, that's a lot of money. But you know what's really got me more concerned is that story you just told about the swim team. Now, I was a competitive swimmer, too. You wouldn't know it to look at me today. But I think there's a way to fix this problem, Greg.
Go ahead.
They got to disqualify these guys for testosterone. Like Mark McGuire. They're drugged. They're juiced.
Do you think they are, really?
Well, they got more testosterone than the females.
Well, now look, for years, women were complaining, this is unfair, we don't get to vote, all this stuff, it's nonsense. And now you have boys that do not have the option or the opportunity to have a boys swim team. There is a written law in place where it has to be equal across all the lines. Why wouldn't boys want to get in the pool with girls? Oh, by the way, you can kick their ass because you're a boy and they're a girl. I mean, what's not great about that?
Well, when I swam in high school,
yes,
they had the boys and girls swimming teams were together, and we traveled to meets together. I think now they're separate seasons and they travel, but we all boarded the bus in our tank suits. And then we drove to the meet in our tank suits and drove home after dark in our tank suits in those big yellow buses. And we all piled into the back of the bus.
Watch out.
Boys and girls.
Hey, gosh, a lot of sex and blow going on back there, probably, right?
I feel sorry for those poor guys.
All right,
but I really also want to express my thanks to Homeland Security for watching out for all those people doing their turkeys in a fryer. I mean, it's a good thing they are on the case.
Forget about terrorism. Forget about sleeper cells in the United States. As long as we are being warned that the threat level for turkey fryers is probably at a red now, you can at least sleep safer for this week. And that kind of builds us nicely into the topic for tonight, which is turkey. Just a few short days away from probably the biggest eating marathon that takes place during the course of the year. So let's go ahead. We'll kind of start off with two of the favorite ways to do turkey. And one, by the way, not the oven, smoker. And then, of course, I talked to deep fry turkey with Ray Lampe last week. What do you like about both? What don't you like? Give us some of your summary thoughts on this.
Well, before we get down to that, you just talked about the big feasting day, and it really struck a chord. I was talking with some people over dinner tonight about, and forgive me, I'm not a great philosopher, but it really makes me think deeply about Thanksgiving. This is such a fascinating event. It's a national holiday. It's something we all share. This is a country where we can't agree on anything, politics, race, religion, sex. Yet, according to statistics I've read, 90% of us are going to be eating turkey on Thursday.
Yes.
Now, we may not all have mashed potatoes or sweet potatoes, and some of us will be skipping the cranberries. But this is a real kumbaya moment. I mean, even Christmas, you've got a lot of people who don't celebrate Christmas, Jews, Muslims, atheists. But Thanksgiving is such a truly American event, a national event, a holiday, and it's centered around food. It's not centered around politics or any other event. It's centered around what we all love on this channel the best, is eating and drinking and being with fellows we love. And not only is it around food, but there's almost a written menu for this meal. Yep. It starts with the turkey. I just think that's wonderful, and it really. I can't think. Maybe some of the guys on the message board here. Are there other nations that have a national eating holiday where the menu is the same all across the country? I don't know.
Meathead, let me answer that for you specifically. I speak for all Americans when I say this show, above all else, relies on its myopathy. Who cares about anybody else? Forget about that. This is America, and we will eat this standard menu as you have just talked about. Here's another thing that I wanted to mention to you, Meathead, and it's something that I briefly mentioned with the good doctor last week. We were talking about turkey being an intimidating item. It's 15, it's 20, it's 25 pounds. As great as this holiday is, and the feasting of 24 to 36 hours and all these other leftovers you can make with this bird that you're going to be eating, am I completely off base to think that the majority of us, perhaps even the 90% that will eat turkey this day, might not have it again, but maybe once or twice more during the course of those next following 12 months? What the hell?
Yeah, isn't that a shame?
It's crazy.
I mean, it's delicious. I mean, well, all right, that doesn't count going to Disneyland and eating turkey legs.
No, of course.
But yeah, I mean, because it can be really a tasty meal. Now, I will bow to the expertise of Dr. Barbecue when it comes to practically anything cooking, but certainly when it comes to deep frying. But I do a pretty decent job on grilling and smoking turkey, and my recipe for the ultimate smoked turkey is pretty darn popular. If you Google grilled or smoked turkey, it usually is right up near the top. And I have just been hammered for the past 10 days, right up through to Thanksgiving, with people asking me questions. So I have look at you. He's drinking barbecue sauce from the bottle.
It's so good. It's Butcher's barbecue, sweet barbecue. It's really some of the best barbecue sauce I've tasted. It's really good.
That's it. Too bad some people aren't watching this, but it's hysterical.
It's
watching
so good.
Knocking back barbecue sauce straight from the bottle.
All right, Meathead joining us.
I like turkey. I like turkey, and I have some thoughts on cooking it. My favorite method is not deep frying. I've done it. I like it. It's really good. But I really much prefer to smoke the turkey. I think that smoke flavor is really seductive and elegant, and everybody I serve it to gets really excited about it. When you go to the deli counter of the grocery store, they sell smoked turkey breasts. They don't sell fried turkey breasts. Everybody loves the grilled and smoked turkeys. And I think the first thing we got to start off with is if anyone is out there doing a grilled or a smoked turkey or any kind of turkey, if you don't have it defrosting now, you're in trouble.
Right.
That sucker has got to – you should have started it on Sunday. And if you haven't got it sitting in the fridge defrosting, then starting tomorrow – you need to start water defrosting it, which means filling up a cooler or the sink with cold water and get it submerged in cold water, and then change that water regularly, but keep it cool. I have a whole article on defrosting, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on that now. But I have a really good article on how to defrost meats and how to do it safely. But don't leave it sit on the counter, but you've got to get it defrosted now. I just got an email the other day from somebody who had done a test run on his turkey, and he said when he temped it in the breast, in the center, it was 160, which is the temperature I say to shoot for in the breast in the center. Right. But as he pushed the probe further towards the ribs, it was 120. Nope. And that tells me he hadn't defrosted it.
Right.
The other thing is and this is an argument that you'll get into with your spouses and their family, is I really strongly advocate, and I'm not alone in this, don't stuff it. If you stuff that bird, you have to think of it, look at it from the side as if it's a giant bowling ball. and heat approaches that bird from the outside, warms the exterior, and then that heat is passed along by the liquid. It's about 70% liquid towards the center. And if the center of that bird is stuffed with bread stuffing, then you've got to cook that center to 165. By the time that center is 160 to 165, the exterior, the outside, which is getting the most heat, is well up around 180 or beyond, and that's in cardboard and shoe leather category, and you've got a real problem. If you take that stuffing out of there, then you have a much thinner cross-section. It's more like a donut, if you will, looking at it from the cross-section. And heat can enter the cavity, can warm the meat from the inside. You'll cook faster, and you won't overcook your breast meat, and you can get juicy meat. And as we were talking about temperatures, there are some serious microbial issues with turkey and chicken out there. You've got to cook it to 165 for about 5 seconds, depends on who you're talking to, 7 seconds, to kill all microbes. If you take it off at 160, it will continue to rise by what's called carryover. And carryover means essentially the heat on the outside, which is hotter than in the inside, continues to progress towards the center, and it will raise the temperature of the turkey 5 to 10 degrees. So get it off of there in the 160, maybe if you want to push it 155 range, and you should be just fine.
Now, FDA does or has revamped its temperature where it used to be 160, 165 in the breast, 180 in the thigh/leg. I believe, if I was not told incorrectly, that it is now a uniform 165 across all dimensions?
Well, the bottom line is what is the temperature that it takes to kill salmonella? And salmonella dies, I think it's 2 seconds at 165 or 7 seconds at 165, I forget the exact number. You can kill all your salmonella at 130, but it takes 2 hours. It's a time versus temp process. That's why sous vide works. You can cook turkey at 130 in a sous vide machine, but you just have to hold it at 130 for hours. And then over the course of those hours, you kill all the salmonella. So USDA tries to simplify things for us. If you don't want to cook your turkey that far, you can take it off at 150, but you've got to hold it at 150 for something like 30 minutes. That's pretty hard to do on a grill or in an oven. So for most of us, getting it up to 160, 165 is perfectly safe, regardless of whether it's thigh or breast or skin or stuffing.
Meathead Goldwyn joining us here on the show. AmazingRibs.com is website. We're talking turkey. Meathead, some of the things that I'm always asked about here by a lot of the novice people that I always have to refer out because I know nothing is the fact that first Thanksgiving that I'm throwing, I'm going to have 10 people over. I'm going to have 20 people over. How do I buy turkey? And perhaps we are a little too late to answer this question, but it's always good to arm the Centralites with information down the road. How do you go about buying a turkey, size-wise?
Well, I used to conduct the great turkey hunt, and I used to I didn't shoulder my blunderbuss and go into the woods. I wish I knew how to hunt. Like I raise labs and such but I don't know how to hunt. But right now I'm lazy. During summer months when the farmers markets are cranking, I try to get fresh meat from farmers who are real conscientious. But for turkey, I just head down to the grocery and buy the grocery store turkey. If you can find a butcher who can get you a turkey that is not injected. Now, most turkeys nowadays have been injected with a fluid. And this is sort of the manufacturer's way of brining because they know we stuff it. They know we overcook it. So they inject a slightly salty solution into the bird, and that helps retain moisture. It adds moisture. And, of course, if the turkey is selling for, $5 a pound, then they get to stick 10% more water in the bird and sell the water for $5 a pound. So they make a little extra bucks on injecting the bird. But most every bird you get, and by the way, I mean, barbecuers know this. If you're not careful, you'll buy ribs that have been injected.
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
they're injecting everything out there nowadays, and it's getting to be a problem. They have some code words that they put on there, but you just need to read the label and be careful. Sometimes it's called enhanced. Sometimes it's called basted. Sometimes it's called self-basting.
Self-basting, yeah.
Self-basting. Kosher turkeys have been treated with salt also. So you don't want to brine those turkeys. Those have got salt added. If you brine them, you run the risk of coming out with a really salty turkey and really salty gravy. And, that's what I end up buying most of the time is just a grocery store turkey. If I can find an uninjected turkey, I jump all over it. But there's an issue, too. A lot of people prefer to buy a fresh turkey. Well, that means that it hasn't been frozen. Now, there's some technical jargon here. That means it hasn't been brought down below a certain temperature, which is really close to freezing. And technically, it's like pizza is a vegetable. We heard that this week.
Yes.
Fresh turkeys really are pretty close to frozen. Depends on where you get them and how you get them and what the meaning of fresh is. But you can get a fresh turkey, especially if it's been brined, that's been pretty close to solid frozen for transit. So the word fresh doesn't always mean they kill the bird, they put it in the refrigerator, and they ship it. It's chilled pretty far down. But the other question there is if the bird is not frozen solidly right after killing, then it's shipped around and it starts losing freshness fast. Frozen birds don't lose freshness very fast. Personally, I'd rather buy a bird that's killed and frozen promptly than a bird that's killed and held close to freezing and shipped across country for 2 weeks. By the time I get it, it's been sitting close to freezing, but not quite for a couple of weeks. Personal preference. So I would go for the frozen bird. Besides, you can't do turkey bowling with a thawed turkey.
No, absolutely not. Now, as far as the size of turkey to buy, how do you gauge the mass of bird to feed your peoples?
Well, I mean, my standard procedure for turkey, for brisket, for anything, is I cook a pound of meat per person. Now, you're going to get, whatever you're cooking, you're going to get shrinkage. That sounds like a Seinfeld show. It depends on what you're cooking and how much fat's involved and what your temperature's at. But a good rough number is just count on 2% shrinkage. You got bone in there, which is waste. So I almost always, whatever meat I'm planning on, I buy a pound of meat per person, figuring the biggest, the hungriest guy is going to eat a half a pound, minus shrinkage, minus waste. And if there's leftover, either I give it to them and let them take it home, or I keep it myself and I eat the leftovers. The one thing I don't want to do is run out. So I would buy a pound per person, count on shrinkage, minus the bones, etc., and you're in good shape. But another thought for you. If you've got a big crowd, say 25 people, rather than buy a 25-pound bird, buy 2 12s. First of all, it's going to cook faster. But again, thinking about the density of the meat. Everybody wants to know, how long do I cook my turkey at 325 degrees? How many hours? Those formulas are okay for an average bird. But what the real operating factor is the thickness of the meat. And if this bird has a really thick breast, then it's going to take longer to cook than a bird with a thin breast. So it's the thickness of the meat that matters. And if you buy a smaller bird, you're getting a thinner breast. It's going to warm to safe temperature faster. The exterior, I mean, that's what the challenge of brisket is. That's what the challenge of pork shoulder is. You've got these big, thick pieces of meat, and the outside tends to really overcook before the inside is done. So you really that's the challenge of good barbecue. You have the same challenge to a lesser degree with turkey. You've got this breast maybe 3 inches or 2 inches. 2 12ers, not only will they cook faster, but you'll chances are get a moister breast than you will if you have a big bird. So I would buy 2 small ones and try to find a way to get him on. If you're working with an 18.5-inch $41, What's that SKU number again, Greg? That's a really incredible bargain. You're doing people.
It is. It's 484-268. 484-268.
If you're turning in late, Greg tipped people off earlier that some of the Home Depots are selling Weber Smoky Mountain 8.5 for
$41.
$41.
$41.
That's incredible.
Absolutely.
That's incredible. All right. It's going to be hard to fit a couple of birds across there, but you can stack them one above the other, offset them a little, one to the right, one to the left, so that they're not necessarily dripping on each other, because you want crispy skin, which is another topic we can talk about. But I would go for the two smaller birds rather than the big gigantic.
All right, Meathead Goldwyn joining us here on the show. We're going to step away real quick so I can talk about my friends over at the Barbecue Guru, makers of automatic temperature control. Look, gang, let's not fool ourselves. Let's not fool others. There's going to be lots of things going on Thursday. Maybe you're going to be smoking 1 or 2 or 5 turkeys, depending on what kind of a cooker you have. Next year, if you don't have one this year, get an automatic temperature control device. You have 4 different ones that you can choose from. Here's an idea. You can go ahead. You can start out hours in advance. You can have the automatic pit temperature control unit minding your pit temperature. Set it to whatever you want to cook at. It will just keep that temperature of the pit going on and on and on. You don't have to do any guesswork. You don't have to sit outside tending any fires. The Barbecue Guru will take care of all of that, so you can go ahead and get in the oven, prep any side dishes that you might have. You can tell everybody else what to do that's in your house, just kind of thieving and eating and mooching off all of your food and all of your liquor and all that other stuff. Because you're knowing in the back of your mind that the Barbecue Guru automatic temperature control devices are doing the most important work for you, which is keeping your pit temperature right where you set it. Now, they also carry a number of other great products that you might want to get your hands on, including Wicked Good Charcoal, Blues Hog sauces, Head Country sauces. You have the slabs and Dizzy Pig rubs. Also, want to mention one of the most versatile and successful cookers out there, not only in backyards, but of course on competition circuit as well. It's called the Onyx Oven. It's very lightweight, it's very fuel efficient, highly accurate, and of course, you know that these cookers are going to be more than highly adaptable when it comes to fitting one of the 4 different automatic pit temperature controls on it. Perhaps you would like to go wireless. Well, you have the Procom 4 wireless unit for your disposal. You also have a Cyber Q2. You have a DigiQ DX. And, of course, the very brand new Party Q. It's a self-contained unit, finally. Something that I can get behind when it comes to automatic pit temperature control, something that I'm going to want to use in my house if I take my cooker down the road, or hours down the road, or weeks down the road. I can carry my Party Q with me. It runs on batteries. It's a completely self-contained unit. I install it on the cooker, set the pit temperature control device. I have now a digital readout to look at, and it's going to sit there and tell me exactly where the pit temperature is. Check them out online, bbqguru.com, or call them toll-free, 800-288-GURU. The Party Q starting at $129. It's an absolutely fabulous deal. We'll be back with Meathead in 20 seconds. Stick around.
Big name interviews, advice on cooking brisket and ribs, and the only host willing to share his honest opinion on all things important in the world of barbecue. It's the Barbecue Central Show.
21 minutes till the top of the hour. And we'll go ahead and pick up our conversation with Meathead talking about turkey. Thanksgiving just a few short days away. Meathead, forgot to tell you, you're going to love this because you're a big Apple lemming. I'm running Skype through the iPad tonight.
Through the iPhone tonight?
No, through the iPad. I have an iPad.
Really?
Well, I don't have one, but my wife has one. She let me use it.
Is that
tonight.
what I'm? Really? That's slick.
Yes.
Very cool.
So, like, you can't hear anything that's happening on the show. except me coughing. But when I'm running sound effects or, all the commercials and stuff that you used to be able to hear, you just hear me talking in the back. But it has improved the quality. I was getting a lot of audio drops and chops in the last couple segments of interviews over the past couple weeks. And I said, you know what, I'm going to try this freaking iPad. And now I have to admit it, I'm kind of a lover now of the iPad because it's allowed me good quality audio with you and with Toby Shea in the first hour. All right, let's go ahead and talk about brining. You're a big science guy. You have top scientists in the industry doing all sorts of research work for you. Dr. Blonder, at it again. What can you tell us about it?
Well, let me back up for just a second, because while you were out there paying the bills on the commercial break, I did a quick lookup. USDA regulations define a frozen turkey or a chicken as one that's been chilled by the processor to 26 degrees Fahrenheit. So a fresh turkey can be chilled as low as 26 or 27 at the processor. Now, at that temp, it may not freeze rock hard because of the protein liquids and other things. Now, I noticed somebody in the discussion session talked about blood chilling at 32. But remember, there's no blood in an animal that we're eating. Any of the liquids we see, even the red stuff out of a steak, is
myoglobin. That's right.
Hey, yeah, you're good. Because blood is dark red, almost black, and it will coagulate on contact with oxygen. So that pink juice, which is runny, is not blood. It's myoglobin. Stop calling it blood. Stop grossing out your teenagers.
Yeah, stop it.
But the liquids may start to crystallize at that temperature, and the inspectors actually allow a plus or minus 2 degree tolerance. So a fresh turkey can be held as low as 24 degrees. And often grocers will then put it in the case and let it thaw a little so it feels fresh.
Wow.
So that's the USDA rules on fresh versus frozen. I just buy a fresh frozen bird. The same thing for fish. Here in Chicago, I can't get fresh fish. Hopefully they freeze it quickly. But that's another topic. Now, you were asking me about Dr. Blonder. I have this wonderful relationship with a man I've never met face to face, but we correspond almost hourly, daily at least. He's a physicist and a foodie and a barbecue lover in New Jersey. Dr. Greg Blonder. He was the head research director at AT&T's Bell Labs for a number of years, and he's been doing some fun research that we talk about. And we've done some fiddling with the subject of brining, and I've got this really cool article on brining, which is based on his research on my website. And one of the things brining, just for background, brining is a really clever technique of submerging meat in a salt solution. It was probably first discovered by some caveman who shot an animal and it fell into the ocean. But because the ocean's about 4% and most brines are 5 to 10%. But what happens is salt enters the meat. Now, we all have read that it's by osmosis, but Dr. Blonder explains that it's not osmosis. And I don't want to get into the technical details here. It's on the website on AmazingRibs.com. Just look at my article on brines. It's in the table of contents. But it's not osmosis that brings the salt water into the meat. It's just plain old diffusion. It just finds its way in between the cells and works its way in, and it doesn't go in very far. After 30 minutes, it only goes in about 3 to 4 millimeters. After an hour, 5 to 6 millimeters. 2 hours, 7 millimeters. And he's documented all this, and I've got links to his website where you can look at all the photographs. I've got a bunch of them on my site. After 4 hours, it only goes in 10 millimeters. That's not even half an inch.
That's what she said.
And you can't see, or maybe you can. I'm sitting here holding my fingers apart. That's 10 inches, Greg. 10 inches. Can you see? He can see me through Skype. You see. Okay, I'll put my clothes back on now. After 8 hours, it goes a half an inch into. Now he did his work on a pork loin, which is a little different density than a turkey breast or a chicken. It will travel a little further on those. But the point is after 24 hours, it gets 2/3 of an inch deep. You can brine these things for a long time, and the brine doesn't go very deep. What he discovered, and it's also, you can see the photos on my website, it's really fascinating, that the brine moves at high speed when it's heated. While you're cooking, the brine starts to move. And you can see these pictures when the internal temp's 100 degrees, it's only about a ½ inch deep. But by the time the internal temp hits 160, it's gone 2 inches deep into the meat. A really fascinating bit of research he's done and pictures. But one of the things that we know about brining is brine messes with the proteins. And it denatures the protein. Proteins kind of knot up and they globulate and they're wadded up. And the salt causes them to loosen up and they glom onto water. And the cool part is, even though the brine attacks mostly the exterior, doesn't go very deep, what happens is that's where we need it the most, because we're heating the outside. And the outside is the part that's drying out the fastest. So there's plenty of moisture down inside. But when we talked about the stall, it's evaporative cooling. It's all the moisture on the surface evaporating. Well, here we're loading up the exterior of the meat with a brine to keep the moisture on the exterior. Now, it is moving inside. But after reading and bouncing back and forth with him, all this stuff about brining and learning a ton of stuff. I mean, for example, you read all these recipes. You're going to take wine and apple juice and garlic and pepper and these are garlic is really, garlic powder and pepper are not water soluble. They're not going to dissolve. That stuff just lands on the surface. It's not going down into the meat. I mean, if the brine, which is water soluble, and the sodium chloride, which is electrolytic, and it get all these electrons firing around, they only go a couple of milliliters. Forget the garlic and stuff. It's just not getting into your meat. You're wasting tons of money dumping spices and herbs into your brine. Just salt and water. If you want to throw a little garlic and pepper, that's good, because they'll stick to the surface and they'll help season the surface. But if you really want to drive stuff down in there, inject.
All right, now let me stop you there, because I have to ask you a specific question about injection.
Yeah.
Specifically this. And I'm asking on behalf of Logan Hendrickson from Hot Grill on Grill Action, one of the top teams out there in competition.
I know of him.
He wanted me to ask you about a concoction into a turkey that would be a mixture of bacon grease and butter. What do you think? Would that win or would that lose?
Well, I mean, if you can inject anything you want, it'll do better than brine. It'll get down in there. The question is, do you like the taste of turkey? If you do, why do you want it to taste like bacon? And so, I mean, I love bacon as much as anybody else out here, but I'm getting a little tired of bacon explosion everywhere, I mean, bacon flavored condoms must be coming up next. Scott said everything is better with bacon.
Yeah.
Sure, why not? I bet it's fantastic. I bet if you inject with orange juice or apple juice, the thing is if you inject, you can get oil down into the meat like butter. Which has, that's the butterball concept.
Right.
Why not? Why not? Somebody, Sylvie, is asking what my thoughts are on dry brines. And by the way, I'm trying to watch this conversation going by. If you got questions, shoot them at us. Dry brines are really smart. And I use them on steak all the time. The concept here is you sprinkle the exterior liberally with salt. Moisture comes up out of the meat, grabs the salt, melts it, sucks it in. But again, it doesn't go very far. But you're seasoning the outer layer. The issue with turkey is what is the outer layer? It's fat. It's the skin. It's skin. So there's not a lot of moisture there to dissolve it, and for the salt to get into the meat, it's got to get through. I don't know how thick the skin is, 1/16 of an inch, but it's mostly lipids. It's mostly fats. So I like the idea of dry brining, and I know it helps, but I think what you're mostly doing is salting the skin, and there's a real advantage to that. That's breaking down the skin, and it's going to help make your skin crispy. And so I like the idea of dry brining for skin a lot. But we're jumping all over the place here. But as far as brining is concerned, it's a good idea if you haven't got an injected meat. Read the label. If it's not injected, you want to brine, okay. But I think, and I haven't got enough to talk about injecting yet because I've got to do more fiddling with it, but injecting with a 1% salt solution and some fats, butter, oils, and flavoring if you want. If you want to add bacon or, thyme or oregano, that stuff, shoot it on up. And do it the same way everybody does their briskets, stick the needle in every inch or two, back it out gently, get a good needle, and you'll get and you have less waste. The general rule of thumb for brining is you want to have enough around the bird so that it gets in there. So if it's a 16-pound bird, you want at least 16 pounds of brine. Oh, and the other cool thing Dr. Blonder came up with is that I'm always fielding questions from people about, well, how do I mix a brine if I use kosher salt? How do I mix a brine if I use sea salt?
Right.
How do I mix a brine if I use And I've never seen this written anywhere else. He came up with a really cool solution using Archimedes' principle of displacement. Basically, you take a 2-cup measuring cup, fill 1 cup with hot water, and then pour whatever salt you want, it doesn't matter, into that cup until it displaces and rises the liquid to the 2-cup level. Because a pound is a pound the world around.
Right.
A pound of kosher salt takes up twice the volume in dry measure than a pound of table salt, but it's still a pound, and when you pour it in a liquid and it dissolves, it displaces the liquid exactly the same. So you take that 2-cup measure, fill 1 cup with hot water, pour whatever salt you want in there till it reaches the 2-cup level, then dump that into a 1-gallon bucket, and you've got a 6.4% brine, regardless of the salt that you use. That's the coolest thing that he did for me, and I think that's just so cool.
Absolutely. Meathead joining us here on the show. AmazingRibs.com is the website. All right, Meathead, we got about a minute 30 here. I can't believe time flies by when you're on.
Can I jump in with a couple of quick tips on things?
Sure.
Don't truss. Don't tie the legs. Don't truss. Let the legs float because you want the thighs and the drums to cook a little hotter or a little further than the breast. And if you don't truss, first of all, you get color and crispiness down into the armpits of the thighs and the legs. And because they're thinner and they're floating out, they're not trussed, they'll cook a little hotter, a little faster. And then you don't have to put ice packs on the breast like some people do to cool them down. The thighs will cook faster and you'll get better color. And you'll get crispier skin, so don't truss.
What else?
What else?
All right. Well, I thought you had a couple things. Let me ask you this because
my other favorite trick is I love the stuffing. You got to have stuffing. Just don't put it in the bird.
Right.
I've been putting it in muffin tins.
Yeah.
And then you get lots of crispy muffin surface.
Which is the best. I mean, crispy muffin surface is great.
The crispy part's the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you butter up those muffin tins really buttery. You put the stuffing in there, and you got like these little cupcakes of stuffing. And I call them muffins or stuffins. Stuffins. I ought to trademark that, but it works. And you don't have to fill the bird with it, and you'll get better cooked meat.
All right, let me ask you this because
we need to do another hour.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we always need to do another hour, Meathead. Now, the majority of Centralites are raging alcoholics, Meathead. You are a wine guy at heart, of course. Give me some pairings of wine.
Okay. match the wine to the side dishes. The meat is really kind of mild in flavor. It's all that sweet stuff that you're serving with it, the sweet potatoes, the sweet cranberries and stuff. So I usually go for a Riesling or a Chenin Blanc or something with just a little sweetness. And also, everybody loves Rieslings and Chenin Blancs. If you go with the really dry Chardonnays and Sauvignon Blancs, which I dearly love, and I think they work really well with turkey, not everybody loves them. I serve food for company more than I do for myself. So I go with something with a little bit of sweetness. We spend Thanksgiving at my Italian-American family, my wife's Italian-American family, and I always bring Asti for them, and they go great.
What about a Prosecco, which of course is like an Italian champagne?
Yeah.
Or what about a Viognier?
Oh yeah, okay. Now you're good.
Of course.
Yeah, both of them are in that mildly sweet range with the Rieslings and Chenin Blancs. Not too sweet, and they're absolutely perfect for this purpose. Can I do a quick tip? I've got a big, huge, it's almost book-length page on turkeys on AmazingRibs.com. It's got all this stuff that we've been talking about and more. Lots of good tips and ideas, and readers have been chiming in with their suggestions. And I'm running a contest right now for the Pretty Bird picture. You can see last year's winners. Send me a picture of your turkey. First prize is a Thermapen. Second prize is some books. And third prize and fourth prize. The nice folks at Thermapen have kicked in with a that's $100 prize right there. And if you've got one, hell, you can't have too many Thermapens. One in the house, one outside. It's a really useful tool. My webpage has got some great illustrations and stuff. So, because we didn't talk about the gravy. I have a cool thing that we do with gravy. Do we have any time to talk about gravy?
I didn't want to do this.
Okay.
We're about to roll out some extended show time for Meathead.
Oh, no. Okay.
Thank God it's Thanksgiving. Otherwise, I'd hang up on your ass. Go ahead.
What I do with I put the bird on a rack, and I put under the bird a big pan, and I throw onions, carrots, celery, apples, whatever in there. I dump a half a bottle or a bottle of wine in there and throw some chicken stock. And basically I make a broth, a really rich turkey broth under. Oh, the neck goes in there. The gizzard goes in there.
Gizzards.
No, not the liver. The liver will make it funky. Everything else but goes in there. Cut the tail off. Cut the skin off around the opening, the opening in the front. All that stuff goes in the gravy, and then the drippings go in the gravy. If I don't put the stuffing in there, which I don't, I can tilt the bird and drain the inside of the bird down in there as it cooks, and then I pull that off just before the bird's done. Strain it. Cook it down, and don't make it thick with flour. Flour gravy just sticks and floats and sits on top of the meat. Now you have this thin, flavorful, smoky broth that penetrates the meat. So if your breast is a little bit dry, this stuff will just soak right in. Everybody loves it. And almost always I have enough left over, like a half a gallon left over, that I can use it for weeks for rice and couscous and other kinds of things. It's a really great way to make gravy, and it'll change your life. Get rid of your pop-up thermometer. It's set to pop at like 175 or 180. If you wait for it to go, you have shoe leather on your hands. First thing you do, pull that pop-up thermometer out. If you're going to season the bird, go under the skin. Raise the skin up with your fingers. Put the seasoning under the skin, herbs and oil. Use a paste. Take your favorite rub. Mix it with some oil. Get it under the skin. That'll get the flavor into the meat, not on top of the skin. What else is there?
Let me stop. Hold on, Meathead. You're running at a fantastic rate. Let me slow you down because we are. I apologize to Kevin Bevington, but we're just going over tonight because it's Thanksgiving, and you're only going to be playing replays of my shows anyway. So let me and Meathead run with it, for crying out loud. We're going crazy. Let me introduce you to something, Meathead, that you're probably about to. You might possibly die right on my camera when I tell you about this. And perhaps my in-laws are the only ones. I have nicknamed this the triple cook method. Triple cook method. Now, my in-laws are, my father-in-law's, early 60s. Mother-in-law's a few years younger than that. And they are big believers, probably because it was ingrained in them ever since they were kids by my grandparents-in-laws. The things need to be cooked to a certain temperature no matter what, and things have never changed. So this is like, for instance, this summer they were doing chicken pieces. So they parboiled the chicken thighs and legs, and then that somehow made it out to the grill for the grill flavor and barbecue sauce. And then we ran them through the microwave just to make sure that they were finished. Hence the triple cook method.
Oh, my.
I mean, we need to relax a little bit. So go ahead and just refresh everybody again on temperature and the fact that, just because this is the way you did it 25 and 30 years ago, things don't, as time goes on, things don't tend to get worse in the food industry. Things change and get better.
Well, actually, in the case of foodborne illness, they do get worse. There's more salmonella out there than there ever was, and the way they process turkeys by dunking them in liquids that are contaminated, they spread the stuff around. So you really do want to be careful about salmonella, but we know that you can kill it all at around 165. Right. So take it up to 160 in the deepest part, and that means if you're stuffing it, you've got to measure the temperature in the stuffing, not just the meat. 160 to 165. The carryover, it will raise it up to 165. You'll be safe. But as with everything, there is no substitute for good cooking than a good digital thermometer. This is the digital age. You can get a good one for $25. I review and rate thermometers on my website. You can go read my articles on there. Thermapen is around $100. It reads in 2 seconds. Talk about an instant read. It's a great tool. Go buy a Thermapen. It'll pay for itself time and time again. You'll never get anybody sick. Absolutely the best way to be safe. And cook your bird properly. You won't ever have a problem.
One of the other things that I wanted to ask you about, and we're going to go back to wine pairings because obviously I'm one of the raging alcoholics that I was mentioning before. Was it 3 years ago or 4 years ago? I forget the name of the movie, but it drove the Pinot Noir craze through the roof. And,
it was Sideways.
Yeah, Sideways, absolutely. And, all of a sudden this is the wine to have, and people, I don't want to say the sommeliers were saying it, but people that are running the independent wine stores around here were pairing anything that had to do with Thanksgiving with Pinot. Do you find that to be a proper wine to pair, or is it one of those things where it's your palate, what tastes good is good to you, and that's all you'd worry about?
I hate to sound like the character in Sideways, but I love Pinot. I'll drink it with anything. It's not big, thick, gooey, rich like Cabernet or sometimes Merlot can be, and certainly not as big as Syrah and Shiraz. It tends to be lighter, and the neat thing is it tends to have better acidity, and acidity cuts fat nicely. So good Pinots, particularly from around the Carneros area and Napa Valley, tend to be really good with both white and red. My wife and I went out for her birthday the other night. She had chicken, I had fish, and we drank Pinot. We drank a Carneros Pinot from Saintsbury Vineyards, and it worked great with the fish and the chicken, and I'm sure it'd be great with the turkey.
Now, 4 years ago, Pinot was, on the whole, a lot more expensive than it had ever been. Has pricing come down on that, or has it stayed fairly similar?
I'm not on top of it. I'm hopeful it's come down, but I used to really be on top of pricing. I'm not now.
Is that what you're going to be having? Will you be having a Pinot?
I will probably bring a half a dozen bottles over to this big shindig.
Oh, wow.
Well,
where's the invite?
There's a bunch of people, and I'll bring something for everybody, including Spumante and white wines. And, yeah, I tend to grab for the Pinot. I love it.
Meathead Goldwyn joining us here on the show. I'm just reviewing our list here since we've gone into bonus time. The other thing I wanted to ask you about, are you a fan, and I know when Thanksgiving comes around, we always talk about tradition, we always talk about the standards of what we're always eating over these many years and all the stuff we talked about in the beginning, but have you ever broken tradition and spatchcocked a turkey and laid it out for everybody, or would you not broach that?
Yeah, no, it makes huge sense. In fact, people are writing me. I just had one just before we came on air tonight from somebody saying, I just got my turkey home and checked, and it's too tall for my Weber grill. What do I do? Spatchcock. I know spatchcock is your favorite word, Greg.
Absolutely. Spatchcock. Love it.
it's butterflying the turkey. You can do it with chicken or turkey. You just turn it over and get a good pair of poultry shears. And boy, I just bought a really nice set of poultry shears, and nothing like them, man. You can just snip through anything and just cut along the backbone, and then the backbone goes in the broth along with the neck and everything else, and you spread it open. You may have to draw a knife down that keel bone on both sides of the breast in order to get it to lay flat, but it's a really good technique because basically you're flattening the bird out so you're getting more even cooking. It'll cook a lot faster because you don't have that hollow air pocket in the center, which is much cooler than the air around the outside of the bird. So you will cook a lot faster. You'll also get brown on the inside, which you don't get when you do a whole bird. So it makes a huge amount of sense. Or just cut the dang thing in half.
You caught me in the midst of a barbecue sauce shot. God damn it.
I said, if people are not watching this,
so good.
The guy is chugging barbecue sauce.
Yeah, Craig, you really have to try this. It's really good.
But I know the Butcher's Blend injections, which I was really skeptical of these things. I don't like putting that stuff in my – but, boy, they work. So I got to try his sauce. Yeah, I'll have to get
dare I say you can drink it out of the bottle and be somewhat satisfied.
I've never seen anyone just sit through a radio broadcast chugging barbecue sauce.
It's not – my palate is strange in the fact – And I probably you have is that a Merlot?
Actually, it is. It's a cheap Australian.
I know.
Great guy. You didn't have to smell it. You didn't have to taste it. The guy can identify wine on sight.
Love wine. My palate is weird in a way where perhaps most of the consuming public, because you see what's on the shelves when it comes to barbecue sauce. It's crappy. It smells like liquid smoke. There's not a lot that's left to the imagination. It's very one-dimensional. But a lot of it is out there. A lot of people buy it. So for me, I'm more of a vinegar guy, not overly excited about anything too sweet. Some sweet is fine. And I like to have the sauce a little more on the thin side than opposed to like a Kansas City thick side of sauce. So this Butcher Barbecue sweet sauce, I was a little concerned at first because it said sweet. And, as I just said, I'm not too much of a sweet guy, but I immediately assessed the ingredients list. It had no mention of liquid smoke. It had no mention of natural flavoring, which, of course, is guys for liquid smoke. Smelled great, but it's got a very nice it's not as sweet as you ever had, what's the stuff that everybody uses in competition? The Blues Hog. You ever had Blues Hog Original?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I love that stuff.
Okay, for me, that's too sweet for me. That's like 3 or 4 notches above where I want sweetness to be on sauce. So Dave's sauce comes right in, probably 5 notches down from there. There's like a little sweetness coming up as you drink it. And then nice, full, rich flavor, lots of nice spice. And then it gives you a little burn on the back end, which is everything that I like in a sauce. That's how I try and make my sauce at home. And this is absolutely it's a little thicker than I would like. But if that's the trade-off, fine. I'll take it every day of the week. Especially
it sounds like a wine tasting show here.
Yeah, had a great nose. I decanted it for an hour before I opened it up. And
How are the legs?
Great legs. I mean, just let me twirl it around here for you. I mean, you can see it just creeps right down the side of the bottle. It's very, very fabulous.
Now, talking about creeps, you're creeping me out here.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're talking about the spatchcock. So that's a good idea. As far as white meat versus dark meat, everybody has their camps. I like both. I will eat both at the Thanksgiving table. A lot of people will say that the white meat just isn't flavorful enough. It's too vanilla of a canvas. So is there any way to kind of spike that up in flavor?
Well, one of the things I love to do is this sauce that this gravy sauce. Now you got me thinking about sauces, for Christ's sake. The gravy that I make, which is really essentially a smoked turkey soup, a really thin smoked turkey soup, and it's really stunning, and it really is great at moistening because I like barbecue sauces. The thinner vinegary sauces penetrate the meats.
Right.
The thick sweet sauces glom on top of it, and they just sit there like a Maharaja resting on his pillow. These thinner sauces and gravies soak in, and I really like the idea of a thin sauce. The difference is between the white meat and dark meat is that you have different kinds of muscles. The legs and the wings work harder than the breasts, and so they need more oxygen. And they have more fat, and it has to do with the myoglobin content. And you've got the difference between fast twitch and slow twitch muscles. And the dark meat does tend to be moister, does tend to be a little more flavorful. But the white meat if you don't overcook it, can be really tasty too. Can you tell which one I like best? Did I give away my hand?
No, not at all. Not at all. You've played it very close to the vest. Meathead Goldwyn joining us here on the show, and we've been talking turkey. You can find him at AmazingRibs.com. Meathead, always enjoy the conversation. If we don't talk before, I wish you and yours a absolutely fantastic Thanksgiving, and I will look forward to talking with you December. I mean, we are almost at Christmas. Can you believe it, Meathead? I can't believe it.
Oh, my God. Hey, there's another holiday coming up you got to make a note of, Greg. You're a drinker. Are you there?
Yeah, what is it called? Friday?
No, December 5th. It's the anniversary of the repeal of Prohibition. It's always a party at my house.
Watch out, I bet. That was the best thing that's ever happened. Get liquor back on the streets.
5th.
All right, December 5th is going in the books. Is that a show day?
Happy Thanksgiving to you guys and to all your family and to all the 18 folks left online.
Hardcore.
Who stuck it out. Thanks for listening, folks. Thanks for coming by.
All right, we'll see you next month.
Next month, pal.
All right, thanks, Meathead. There he is. It's Meathead. Gotta love Meathead for coming on and actually doing extra time for us this evening. So we certainly appreciate that. And I want to make sure that I am not going to get out of key here. All right, little bonus time for you. Lots of great tips there. Sometimes when it's holiday approaching, you got to throw caution to the wind. You got to wait a second. Hold on a goddamn minute.
Get that big stuff out of here.
I have a Luftlighter to give away for crying out loud. Knew I was forgetting something now. All right, 877-448-0433. 877-448-0433. If you want a $75 Luftlighter for free, you call in now, and I will put you up. You will have to answer a question about tonight's show. Could be any question at all, so you're going to have to make sure that you are fully prepared when it comes to this. We go to area code 781, name and where you're calling from. Hello. Name and where you're calling from, area code 781.
Hello. Hi, it's Patrick from Massachusetts.
Patrick. How are you, buddy?
I've been waiting all night.
You've been waiting. Oh, man. Well, look, I'm glad your persistence has paid off. Maybe, Patrick, and obviously you're interested in the Luftlighter.
Absolutely. All
right. Answer this question with relative ease. You will have a Luftlighter being shipped out to you probably tomorrow. Usually, St. John is very expeditive. That's not even a right word. He's very quick at shipping stuff out. All right, here's the question, Patrick, for your chance to win a $75 Luftlighter for free. In the first hour of the show, we had Toby Shea on talking about International Barbecue Initiative and if his idea was stolen or if it was not. Name the society that he founded.
What is it? Is it the British Barbecue Society?
That's the British Barbecue Society, absolutely. Paying attention, taking copious notes is Patrick. Patrick, go ahead and send me your shipping info to greg@thebbqcentralshow.com, and we will get you your free Luftlighter.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Greg. I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving from me.
All right, I will do that. Patrick, as always, appreciate you listening. Appreciate you calling in tonight. Patrick. All right, there you go. Luftlighter given away. 2 left. Next week, 2 left. Doesn't get any better than that. Here we go. Get the lineup ready. Toby Shea, British Barbecue Society. BBBQS. That's 3 Bs. bbbqs.com. Check him out, British Barbecue Society. Good luck to him and his endeavors on getting more teams to the Jack Daniels and requiring that the Euro teams at least be on some type of competitive level as the American teams. It's only fair in my humble opinion. So we'll see how that unfolds for him. Also, thanks to Meathead for the second hour, talking all things turkey. Going very in-depth. We're now 17 minutes past the typical stop sign. I apologize to Kevin Bevington. Most of all, thanks to the Centralites. Hope you guys have a very safe and enjoyable Thanksgiving. We will recount and recap next week. Jam-packed show already, as always. Plus, another loot lighter to give away. Hey, want to help to remind you to control the rusty grill grate population. If you have raw cast iron, you use it at the end of the cook because it's starting to cool back down. Hit it with a little Pam spray or a little Crisco. Let it bake in there as it cools all the way down. Provides you rust-free service for as long as you properly season those. Also, September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. Until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Happy Thanksgiving. Good night now.